are live right now, so let me just send the link real quick.
Okay. The
Awesome.
slide's up,
Hey
right?
everybody. Welcome to the Twitch. So this is part of like our ongoing series of student-led workshops, and today we're going to have Bryan teach us how to build a Pokedex with React. So Bryan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So anyways, hello everybody. As Shreya said, my name's Bryan. I'm a fourth year student at UC Davis. I major in computer science. And the first time I got into programming was during high school, where my teacher taught us OOP and web development. Strange combination for high school, but that's what happened. What we're building today is we are going to be building a Pokedex with some fundamentals of React. And I mainly got the idea of building this because I was kind of like just bored during quarantine. So I just started replaying some of the old games I did when I was like a little kid, had fun. And then I was thinking like, I don't think I've built a Pokedex so far. And since I know like a little bit of React, I might as well just like see what happens and just try to build it out. Okay. So before continuing on, Shreya, everyone can see this, right?
Everyone can see him.
Okay, cool. So basically, I just wanted to show you guys just a brief overview on how it's supposed to look like. Um, for like our purposes only, we're only going to be doing the first 151 just because it's easier to visualize. As you can see the Pokemon on the right, their name, and their typing right below. And as you can see, it goes all the way until Gen 1. And if you click on a specific card, you'll have a modal that pops up that shows, once again, their name, their number, typing, image, as well as their stats. Okay, cool. I'm just going to kill this before we continue on. So I will send everyone the link via the chat. So if you go to that GitHub link, you should be brought to a page that looks like this right here. So before we like continue on, we should just probably like make sure that like everyone has like the same system requirements, which is Git, Node, and npm. And if you think you have them already, but you're not sure, you can kind of just copy all three of these commands and just open up your either PowerShell on Windows or your Mac terminal on Mac. You can just copy and paste them in. And if you see like just like a number, like a return back by typing in those commands, then that means you have the correct, what's it called, tools ready. Other than that, make sure you guys have a text editor. I'm gonna be using VS Code since I use it a lot, but use whatever like you're comfortable with. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna clone this project. So go to code, click this little clipboard here, and then at basically anywhere like where you feel comfortable like knowing what the project is, just type in git clone and enter. Okay, so once you download the project, just open up the folder. So in my case, it's gonna be in tutorials and it's gonna be right here. Okay, so you should have a simple setup like this. If you have a terminal, first make sure you're in like the root of the project by typing ls. So if you see something like this, then you're in the right place. And while we're at it, let's install all the packages needed for this project. Since this is going to take a while to install, since there are quite a bit of packages, since this will be the first time running it, I just want to say this right now. I'm basically be following everything in like inside these steps folders. So if you want to follow along with me, we're gonna go to like step 0 right now, which is just some like some ES features that I will be commonly be using in this project, just so like no one gets like confused on like how something works. Also, since the npm installation will take a while, we might as well just go over this right now too. So step 0, the whole point of this is just to understand some simple ES6 features that I will be using. So one thing that JavaScript has is something called template strings. It makes it a lot easier where you can just define a variable and then type it out. And include it within your string at the same time. Because before doing this right here, you had to kind of do this ugly, like hacky way of just like having a string, then you concatenate with a plus sign, the variable name, then you have to concatenate with a space, and then finally the period. This can get very annoying very quickly and make strings really long. But instead, what you can do now is just type in hi, my name is, and then you put a $sign, and then like this little curly bracelets, and then the name of your variable inside, and it should just console out hi, my name is, whatever your variable name for first is.
Hey, Bryan.
Yes.
We have a question from the audience asking if you could go over like how to clone.
Oh yeah, sorry, I don't have stream up. Okay, can you go over how to clone the files again? Okay, yeah, again. So, oh yeah, should I stop me at any time? Because mostly I'm not gonna be able to look at chat too much. So sorry. If you click code right here, I'm assuming everyone's like on this page. And if you just click the clipboard right here, and then if you just go into a specific directory with your terminal or PowerShell, you can type in get clone, and then just click Control V to copy and paste to paste the Git URL, and press enter to get the repo. But since I already have it here, it's just going to fail. Let's see, does that work? Okay. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Yeah. So JavaScript also has another thing called ternary if statements. It's just a fancy word for if statements that makes it more concise. So if you have ever done like CS, have ever done like a computer science course before, whether it be in high school or like college, you'll always be told like your if statement would look like this, where you have if, some parentheses, your curly braces, and then your conditional statements. But JavaScript found a way to make it more concise by just having the if statement written out like this. So instead, my bool is your if statement part. So this is the part where you're checking if it's true. So this basically reads, if my bool is true, then I will console out hello. And then whatever is to the right of this colon, it would be the false statement. So if my bool was false instead, it will just console log by instead. Okay. Next are just arrow functions. It's just a new way to write functions really quickly. If you want to look more into it, I include like links to each feature in its appropriate section. So instead of just typing in like function, say hello, parentheses, curly braces, then console log hello, you can just like write as a function and sorry, my bad, write it as a variable and set it equal to this like parentheses, like anonymous function, and have it say hello. It's just a quicker way for like developers to like write code quicker, because the less that you have to write, the better you are off. Okay, so the last thing is array and object destructuring. So, and what this basically does is that it just takes, let's see, it takes, okay, sorry. What it does is that, for example, like right here, we have a function called return nums, where it returns 1 and it returns 2 in an array. So what this array destructuring does is that whatever the first value of return nums is, set it to num1, and whatever the second value of return nums is, set it to num2. And then it follows like something very similar to what we have right here for object destructuring. Whatever for here is that like if I want to get the first value out of nums, and the second value of nums to my value right here. Okay. So at this point, everyone's project should be installed. So now let's just like run our server, which all we have to do is type in npm start. And usually when you run your first like React app for the first time, it usually takes a while to like load up. Okay, yeah. So if everyone just sees like a start in development server, that means it's just currently compiling, ready to like be served up.
Hey, Brian, I'm
Yes.
back with another question.
Yeah, sure.
What application are you using?
What application?
Hmm.
For wait, what application for what?
Um, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can get a clarification on the question.
Do they mean like the text editor?
I'm not sure what we're coding on.
If they're asking what language, we're using JavaScript, but we're using like the React framework that Facebook made.
Okay.
Is that what they mean? Okay. So if you want to follow through, I guess like the exact like walkthrough of like the workshop, then you can go to steps and step1.md. Shrey, do we need to like wait on the person to
I guess we can just wait like a few seconds and then we can move on.
Yeah, sure.
And if you have any other questions, just like ask again in the chat and we'd be happy to go over that. So they're saying that they went to the React page and there's a few online editors. Will those work? Do you know, Brian?
I haven't tested it, but they should. I kind of just coded out everything just like on my machine. But if you use like, I'm assuming like they're probably like using, I think it was like Code Sandbox. That should work as well if you just like import it there, and you should be able to follow along just the same. Haven't tested it out, but it should work like that.
Got it. I think we can continue for now, Bryan.
Okay, sounds good. If anybody just like if you feel like you're falling behind, you can kind of just like follow these steps if you want to catch up, or if you want to, you can just start at whatever branch we have here. So step one contains all the code that we're gonna go over for step one, and same thing for step two, three, four, five, six. So if you ever just need to like just copy and paste some code real quickly, just go to those branches and pull the code from there. But if everyone has ran their app like successfully, you should just see nothing because right now we have nothing rendered for our page. So all of our React, what's it called, the code, it all belongs in app right now. And see, yeah. If you see how we have return null right here, our React app is just going to return nothing, which is exactly what we see in our beginning screen. But if we change it to something like, let's just put in a div and we'll just call it hi there. And if we save it, it should recompile. And once you get something like this where it says it's done compiling, you should find a hi there at the top left of the corner of this application. But you can do more than just returning just one element. You can actually like return like nested elements instead. So let's take the hi there out of there. So instead we have something like this. And instead of putting the hi there in a div, let's put everything in an h1. And let's just say like, hi there, welcome to my Pokedex. Or whatever you want to. And let's just add like another paragraph where it says, hi, I am a paragraph in React. If you click save, and if you go back, your app should auto reload, and you get hi there, welcome to my Pokedex, and hi, I'm a paragraph in React. So for React, you can not just like return like one element, but you can return like nested elements as well, which is quite handy. Since this is just like JavaScript, since this is exactly just JavaScript, we can also pass in variable names into our components as well, or like inside of our HTML as well. So all we have to do is just type in, we can just declare a variable. Let's just do const name, and you can type my name or your name, whatever works better for you. But yeah, so let's see. So in order to include this into our application, what we had to do is, let's say my name is, we have to type in curly brackets, and then we can pass in the name of our variable, which is just called name. And once it like recompiles, all we had to do is just go back to our page, and it will see like, hi there, my name is Bryan, and welcome to my Pokedex. And as you see, if you change it to something like, let's just change the name to like Shreya or whatever name you see, once this app reloads, it says like, hi there, my name is Shreya instead. Okay. So if you guys remember from, I guess, like the short demo that we have, what we have is a gridded system of displaying each Pokemon, and as well as like their modal as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to be creating, I guess, like you say, like the individual card list for viewing each Pokemon. But since like making that will like take quite a bit of time, what we can do instead is like we're going to use something called like, I guess, like styling libraries for React. In our case, we will be using something called style components for ours. Specifically, we'll be using many of these, but the first one we're going to be using is the card component that we see here. And yeah, so before we, as you noted, before we use the component, we actually have to import the component from Ant Design. So it's already done for you, like at the top of your app.js right here. As you can see, we imported card from Ant Design. Now, in order to use it, all we had to do is just use it like a regular HTML element. And then in our card, we can say, hi. Okay, now that compiles, you can go back. App should refresh. And if you notice this like little like light border around the text that we made, then that means we definitely like used the card correctly right there. So since we are building a Pokedex, let's start by putting like the name and image of the Pokemon in the card first. Beforehand, before we do that, let's just put like a static image of like the first Pokemon in the Pokedex, which is just Bulbasaur. And we can do that by first importing like some functions that I made for us so that we don't have to like statically put in images later on. But all you have to do is type import curly brace get Pokemon image with a lowercase m from helper slash Pokemon helpers semicolon. If you want to like look into like what's here, all I did was just make some helper functions for us, like easier to make it. I made some helper functions for us to make our lives easier when making this project. So what get Pokemon image does is that it just retrieves an image based on the ID that you pass in. So if you wanted to see this in action, let's just erase this text right here. Let's do that. Let's make an image. Close it out. Let's make the alt nothing. And then for its source, we are gonna call the get Pokemon image. So we're gonna do put it in curly braces, and then we're gonna do get Pokemon image, and then we're just gonna pass in a string of that Pokemon ID. In this case, we want Bulbasaur. If you refresh the page, you'll see like a picture of Bulbasaur right there now. If you really wanted to mess around with it, you can actually just type in any valid Pokedex number. I don't know how many they have now, but whatever the amount that they have, if you type their entry in the national dex, you will get an image back. So for example, 44 is like Gloom apparently. So yeah, but for now, I'm just gonna keep mine as like Bulbasaur, but you guys can keep yours as whatever you guys want. So yeah, this concludes like, the first step one. And if you guys want to follow along with like these steps cards again, we're going to be moving on to step two, which is making this look a little bit prettier because image is too big and the card is like a little bit too big as well. So the goal of the next step is to actually start styling our application. And we are, and we are going to be using a library called style components to style our to style this app, which just basically just allows you to have JavaScript logic within your CSS, which is what I like the most so far about it. So beforehand, let's just get rid of this and the div in the paragraph and just only leave the card. To use styled components, all you have to do, you have to import the styled function from their library. And then afterwards, all you have to do is declare a variable styled and then wrap the function that you want around, that you want styled. And then you should type in the backtick marks, which is located, I think, to the left of the one keyboard for for us. So since I already made the style card for us already, all we can do is we can like take the style card and just copy and paste it over the card component that we had earlier. And if we go back, we would notice that, well, it's not perfect yet because we haven't styled the image, but the card has more rounded borders. If you can see it a little bit, sorry if the borders are like a little bit light, and there's like a little bit more padding on the left, right, and top now. Okay, so let's start beginning by writing our like own style components into this application. So we are going to make a style component for first the div, and obviously our image as well, since it's a little bit like out of control right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in const styled container. For me, I just follow the principle of like typing styled and then whatever element I want to style next. But you can usually name it whatever you want. I just like to make myself consistent. So you set it equal to style dot div, and the reason why you do dot div instead of wrapping it around is because if you want to style someone else's components, so we want to like restyle the ant design card, we have to wrap it in parentheses. But if it's just like a regular like HTML element like a tags, divs, p tags, and header tags, we can just do dot instead. And then afterwards, you type in the tick marks, 2 of them, a semicolon, and then in here you can and then in here you can just write in whatever CSS that you normally would be. For us, we want to give the margin of auto, so our whole entire application centered. Give the width of 65%, and give some overall padding of like 10 pixels. Now, if we're here, you can take the style container and apply it to the div that we had instead. And if you look back, you can definitely see that our style has changed because this is definitely more centered now, as well as there being like more padding in the left and right. Okay, now let's take care of the image next. So what we should do is, like you guessed, you'll have something called styled image if you want to follow the same syntax as I did, styled. And then since we're styling the image tag, we're going to style the image with 2 tick marks, semicolon. Then we want to give the image the width of 80% of the container that it's in. And we just want to make all the height of the cards exactly the same. So height up 100% as well. Once again, take the style image, copy and paste it. Oh, see? And now you should see just a big image of Bulbasaur, but don't worry, we are gonna make it fit a lot better into the pages by importing some more ant design like components that we can use. Okay, so now that we have the image ready, let's actually start like formatting it into like the row and column like system. And thankfully, ant design actually has something called row and col for us to actually like use to format it into the grid system. If you want to look more into it, it should be like a hyperlink within these steps right here. Type in row. It should just take you to like the grid page, which shows you how to use it as well if you want to learn more about it. But we are going to import the row and col components so we can like start formatting it better. So in order to make this grid system, we have to have a row, and we're going to wrap it around our soon-to-be all cards. Then for each card, we want them to be in the column of span, let's say 8. Oh, oopsie, not 9. Put the column just right above the row. And if we save and go to the next side, you should see that Bulbasaur fits a little bit more better inside of our card. Okay, cool. Now that we have that taken care of, let's import just one last component from Ant Design, which is called Space. And what Space does is that it allows you to format your data in like a specific way. In our case, let's see if I can get there real quickly. For space. Oh god. For spacing, we want to use this, where we have our name here and the image here, and we can also put our typings in here as well. So we're gonna have everything centered. Okay. Okay, so we are gonna put, since we are gonna do this for every single card, we want the space to be in here, and we want the alignment to have at the start. We start. Take the space and, oh, whoopsie, my bad. Oh my goodness. Space. Take space out and put it under the image. And once it recompiles, you notice it's not too different yet, but we're gonna be adding the name in first, and maybe that will change it a bit. So right below the spacing, the space component, we are gonna add our own div, and in it we are gonna put a heading of 2, and we're just gonna statically just input the name in for now. And yeah, now you see the name and Bulbasaur and your image on the right, which is a lot smaller and it looks a little bit better. Okay, so now that we have this, we're like almost there to styling just one card, but let's import some other functions that will help us make the card look a lot better, which is get background type and get type. What get background types is just going to color in the background of the card, depending on the typing of the Pokemon, and get type will just return a color for the Pokemon types, which I will show in a second. So let's start for the style card. Since we noticed that style card takes in a props called type name, we can just call the background type and it will return a value for its background color, or include a prop for it, my bad. So if we go to style card and if we do type name, then we do a function for it for get background type. And since Bulbasaur is grass, we can just put in grass in there. Now, if you refresh it, you should now see your card colored in like this light greenish color. Okay. Since most cards are gonna be like this, let's actually just make the title let's give a title. Let's style the title. My bad. We'll call it styled title, and we are gonna make it an H2. And we're just gonna make it really simple. We're just gonna make it white, since it will just show up better in like other subsequent cards as well. So if you take a title and then copy it over the old H2 we have, now your name should just be white and your background should be green as well. Okay, so now let's add some typings for Bulbasaur. So as you noticed, we there's this like styled button component right here. I mean styled button style. There's a style component called style button, and basically this is just like the styling used to it's used for the Pokemon's type. And we actually just used Antedesign's button for this, just to make our lives look a little bit easier. So right under Bulbasaur's name, we are going to use styled button. And for the first one, we're going to just make a grass. So now we're going to pass in some prop types into it. So in Antdesign, they already have some specificities on how to style your button. So for our case, they take in something called shape. We're going to make it round. And for the size, we're going to declare it as small. But since we also declared our own personal props, which is type name and width, we are also going to pass in those as well. So we're going to have pass in type name. And for the curly braces, we are going to call the get type function. And we're just going to pass in grass, all lowercase. And for width, we're just going to pass in like 100 for now, since the width will vary on later on. Now, if we refresh the page, you should now see grass now on there. Since Bulbasaur is like grass poison, let's just statically just add it in now. So if you just copy and paste like the old button that we used for grass, instead of putting grass, we can just pass in poison. Change that to poison as well. Refresh our app, and you should now see grass poison right here as well. Okay, yeah, that's it for step 2. Is everybody like okay on moving on to step 3? Or do I need to re-explain some parts of step 2 that I might have gone too fast over?
We haven't gotten any questions from the chat just yet, but we can wait like a few seconds. If you guys have questions, just feel free to ask in the chat. Take a quick water break.
Yeah. Oh wow, there's stream chat. Okay, now I can see it. Okay, wow.
Okay.
Okay, I was looking at private chat for like the longest time, and I didn't notice that there's something called stream chat.
Yeah,
if you guys don't know, this is my first time streaming, so I don't know how to use any of this. So yeah, this is a learning experience for me and the audience at the same time. So it's great.
No, you're doing good so far. One of the participants said that all's good, so we can continue.
Okay. Honestly, if you don't like, I'll say this right now. If you don't feel like typing out everything out, you can kind of just copy and paste each section over into your code. There should just be like a little description on each one, almost on where to like type it out. But since we're just working in one file, for step 2, you can kind of just copy and paste most of the stuff over, and you should be able to see this as here as well. And yeah, just in case if you like slow at typing, because that was definitely me back then when I first started. But nonetheless, we are going to move on to step 3, which is called components. Okay, let's get back into it. So we basically have at this point like all the basics we need for this. The only thing we need to do really is just to call something called an API to retrieve all this Pokemon data. because it would be kind of a pain to like hard code everything. But as you might have noticed right here, like our app file, like it's not too big, but like as we like start coding out more of this project, we'll start to notice how fat this app.js file is, which is not good thing. It's not a good thing in terms of what's it called, good practices. So usually what people do is that they separate their code off into like different components, which is components is just a fancy word for like a collection of elements. So if you have like a div and then inside that div is an h1 paragraph, some more paragraphs, that would be considered as like a component. And yeah, you can kind of think of like a component as like a function where it just takes in parameters and just like outputs something. In this case, we can take in properties, and then we can just display some elements in. Okay, so the first step into making our own components is that we are going to create a new folder in source, which is just src. So if you just right click it, type in new folder, and if we type, and we're just going to name this file components because that's usually what everyone names it. For this component right here, let's just call it Pokecard. So we just type in new file, pokecard.js, and you just have an empty page right here. So in order to make this like empty component first without having our terminal shout at us, we are going to type in import React from React in order to use React first. And then we are going to find our component, which is called Pokecard, set it equal to an arrow function, and we're just going to return null from it. And at the end, at the end of the file, we want to export it as our default, because this is basically, this says like, whenever this component is used, just return this component and to use it as. Okay. Now, what we can do is we can actually just start like taking away some code from here. So what we're going to do is from this colon line right here, go stretch it all the way down to its closing tag, just cut it out. So instead of returning null, we're just putting some parentheses. And in here, we're just going to type in, I mean, we're not going to type in, we're just going to paste in here the results. If you have like terminals with like linters, you might have noticed like it's saying like most of these things aren't defined. That's fine, because we can just go into our app.js and we notice that we need these functions over here. So you can copy and paste all the helper functions, go to your Pokecard file, import that. You have some less lines now. And if we copy and paste from the and design part, we can just take in the colon and space. So it will be a little bit better. Obviously, since we're using style components, we have to take style components from there as well and import it into our file here. Oh, I almost forgot to say this, but if you notice how I'm changing like multiple lines at the same time very quickly, it's not magic, I promise you. I just have like a quick key binding to just auto format everything. But if you want to like format everything really quickly, I'm not sure what your guys' key binding is since mine's different, but you can just right click on your editor for VS Code at least, and you can type in format document, and it should just auto format everything for you if you don't want to like deal with like the annoying like tapping of spaces and stuff. Moving on, we are going to be moving some style components over. So take in the button and the card, move it over here, and we're going to put it just right above our component. Oh, shoot. Make sure to add the button components from design as well, from your imports as well, sorry. And then we're also going to take in our styled image and style title. We're going to put it right here as well. Oh, shoot, I guess I forgot the card as well. but make sure to import the card and button too. My bad. Okay, everything looks fine. Let's see, looks like we need everything but row. I mean, everything's, yeah, we just need row now. Now, if we go back here, we're back to nothing again because we kind of just took the card away. But in order for us to get what we had before, we had to import this newly component that we created right here. So we can do import, and we're going to import a component called Pokecard from components / Pokecard. So this value, Pokecard, will contain whatever is in this return statement. So now all we have to do is just see. Now all we had to do is just use it like a regular element like we had before. Now, if we refresh it, you should have exactly what we had before, which is perfect. Okay. So now that we have everything moved over to Pokecard, I will say this. We are going to be reusing this button a lot, and by having our the typing of Pokemon in its own component, it's definitely what's it called? It'll definitely be beneficial later because our Pokecard component would also be like less cluttered as well. So just like how we created a new component for Pokecard, we can have something called PokeType.js. Just like the beginning before, we're going to import React from React. We are going to make the PokeType. We'll call it PokeType, set it to a function, curly braces, return null for now, and then like before, export default, it will just be PokeType. And we'll just, yeah, there we go. Okay, once we're here, we're gonna do exactly like what we did before. We are going to just copy and paste this part over. We're not gonna need this later on, but it's fine. And in here, parentheses, copy it out. And since we need style component, since we need our style button, we're just gonna take our style button from here, paste it here. Okay. Okay, I guess I didn't copy over the first time. Copy or cut, paste. Take some more libraries that we need, and then take the button from design. And it seems that we need the get type function. Where is it? The get type function over. So we'll take this as well. Paste it on top, since we don't need that, or that for now, in this function at least. We only just need get type, and this is what we have right here. Okay, so yeah, cool. So now, like before, we can just import our component. So in our case, since we call it Poketype, from components / Poketype, semicolon. Now all we have to do is just call it out, like how we did with Pokecard. Whoopsie, I almost called Poketype out again. Once you get this far, if your app reloads, you realize, oh no, they're both grass now, which is it's not exactly what we want right now, which is not good. So as we notice, everything, all the Poke type will return will always be the exact same. Like nothing will ever be dynamic. So let's change that a bit first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass in We're gonna pass in a special keyword called props. And what props does is just like, it's much like how when you define a function, when you pass in parameters for the function, it will just be like, if you pass x, y, and z into function high, and then you do, I don't know, like let a equal x plus y plus z, your function parameters right here is the exact same thing as props. It's just that it's all just under one word, and you can just like access it through like how you would of an object. So for props, it's just a special property for that React uses to pass in variables. For our case, we are going to be passing something called type into our function just to make it more dynamic. And the only thing we're going to do is just pass in the width as well. Oh yeah, I guess this last part's important too. But also for here, for your style button, for the name of it, we're also just going to make it pass in props.type as well. So now, instead of just passing nothing into our component, we can just pass in a type, which is just grass. We'll make the width 100. For the second typing, we'll make it, okay, yeah, spell poison, right? And once again, width equal to 100, x 100. And once we get through here, we should see that grass and poison are back to its original how it was originally. The only difference is that they're not uppercased, but we can just fix that really quickly. If we just do another import, I already made a function to uppercase most of the to uppercase just like the first letter of the word, because the API that I've used to to retrieve the Pokemon data, for some reason they just don't capitalize any of the words, which I find really strange. But it's fine. But it's gonna be a function called uppercase word, and it's gonna be from helper slash helper slash shared. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure that I actually am pulling the right one. Yeah, it's uppercase word. So we just type an uppercase word, pass into here, wrap the prop type around it. Yeah, there you go. It looks a lot better. Okay, that pretty much wraps up for step 4. Are there any like questions, I guess, or like concerns that you know about before we move on?
Not yet, but it's starting to look really cute.
I mean, yeah, we have like one lonely boy right now, unfortunately, but it'll be better at some point.
Could you go over what props is?
Hey, I can see that now. Okay, yeah. So, if you ever taken like a computer science course, you guys will know what functions are. Functions just taking parameter. At first, I thought I would be building our own Pokemon game. Oh no! If we were building our own game, I'm gonna need more than 2 hours. I'm sorry. That would be oh my god. Yeah, no. Also, I don't know how to mess around with RPG Maker. Sorry, but props is just a special word that JavaScript uses to pass in parameters into other components. So I guess like I guess like a good analogy is that if you guys know what functions are, if you guys know how you can pass in like variables into your functions, it's very similar like that for like props for components. It's just that instead of passing in, what was it? For example, we hypothetically could just pass in type and width at the same time, but usually for like bigger applications, it's not the best idea to do that because you usually be passing in like more than just two. But with props, we can actually just pass in all of them at the same time. If you guys don't believe me, what we can do right here is that we can console.log and we can just console out the props right here. So if we go to our application, if you right click and if you click inspect, if you go to console, please ignore this. If you go to the object right here, you'll see you see that the variables of Poketype, I mean the component Poketype is getting passed the value of type and width. And how do we know that? It's because we just basically just print out whatever variables are being passed to it. So if I want to pass another variables into Poketype just for kicks and giggles, I can just say something like is true, and we'll make it true. So if we pass that variable in there, and if our application reloads, we will see that we pass in like an additional an additional parameter called is true into our props. But TLDR, props are just variables that you just pass into JavaScript as you would a function. Does that make sense to syncopated rhythm? Okay, yeah. If wow, I'm not sure if I include like a props article in here or like a props what explanation of props is. I guess I can do it later on, but yeah, if you just think of it just like variables to pass into a component, and the compo- and the very and that component can access those variables that you just passed on. Okay, so if you guys are still following along, we're going to step 4 now, which is APIs, which is great. So currently, right now, our little buddy right here is only by himself, which is kind of not how the Pokedex is. There's usually a lot more than just Bulbasaur. So instead of just like statically typing everything, we are gonna just like use an API to call the data and retrieve data from there, so that we don't have to do it. But just a quick explanation of what an API is. An API is an application programming interface, which allows other users to interact with your program to either pull data or manipulate data that they already have. In our case, we're going to use something called, whoopsie, wrong screen. We're going to use something called Poke API. And this API just returns details on Pokemon or whatever you want. So if you just type in Pokemon, it would return the results of the first 20 right here, or whatever parameters you want it to be. Okay. With that, let's start. So before we go on, let's see in here, right here, just right after the React statement, I'll explain what these two functions do in a second, but let's just first import useState and useEffect. And along with that, let's just also import like another function, which I will explain in a second, which is just called load Pokemon. And it's going to be from the helper slash Pokemon helpers file. Oh, whoopsie. Okay. So in our application right now, all we have is a bunch of like static data, right? So this will always be the same no matter what. But even if we declare variables inside of our application right now, they'll always just change because at each re-render of our application, the variables will just be reset. Especially when we go to like different pages, right? But in order to, I guess to have like more, I guess I'm not sure the best word for this is more permanent variables is to use the use state function. So JavaScript has something called state variables, and what state variables are just variables pertaining to a specific component that will just like last even on a re-render. I'll show an example in a second, but use effect. This use effect function is used for just like if you want to make changes to your application or like make side effects, as most people will put it. But basically, every single time you type in every single time you use a use effect function, what happens is that what it basically says that every single time that that this component app gets refreshed, run this use effect function right here, and it will just run what's ever in here. I guess like the best way to like to do this is just to go over an example. And oh yeah, last but not least, load Pokemon does is that I can get to file. If you want to follow along to this, but basically what it does is that it just calls the Poke API that I just showed you. It'll just get the data for it and return it back to us. Yeah. And let's just go over an example on how this like use effect function works. Since I think just like looking at it through examples is probably like a lot better if I explain it. So let's just have a function called use Pokemon, and we have to use a special async function right here because we just want the since our fetch function is like asynchronous. Okay, so in this we are going to write a try and catch block, but in our try we are going to have something called Pokemon results equal to await load Pokemon, and this should just give us all of our and this should just give us all of the Pokemon that we need for this project. Next, after that, we are going to need a catch statement just in case. And in the catch, we're going to catch an error. And if we see the error, we'll just console.log out for it right now. Let's do that. After declaring it, I'm going to do something called fetch results. Oh, fetch Pokemon. My bad. Oh, and at the very end of the use effect, just make sure you put a comma next to the curly bracket and an array. I will be explaining what this is later on, but we'll just leave it there for now, so it'll be like less confusing. And right before we have right after we call the results, let's just see how the results look like afterwards with the results. Once you have this typed out, what we can do is we can look at our page. Let's refresh the page like once more again, just so we can like see it all through. you'll notice that we have like some data here right now, which is just our console.log statement that we had earlier. But as I said before, every single time that this whole application component is refreshed, it is going to call this function right here. It's gonna call what it's gonna execute whatever. Oh, whoopsie! It's going to execute. Oh my goodness! It's going to execute whatever is in the brackets of use effect. Before I go on, does that make any sense? Does that make sense to everyone? Just so like no one's confused. It's just every single time this component refreshes, everything in here will get run. Okay. Okay. Now, in order to, oh, Shreya, let me know if anyone has questions now because I'm looking at my notes. But thank you. If now that we have that, we have to save our variables in something called state, and states are just like values that belong to a component. So whenever a state changes, the component will also like re-render as well in like use effect. So let's make something called spacing const Pokemon. Put in our array Pokemon, and we'll have something called set Pokemon right next to it, and use state and parentheses. Probably very confusing if you ever wrote this for your first time, but what this basically does is, I'll explain what this part does first. What use state does is that it takes in a parameter. So whatever's in these parentheses is going to be the initial value of Pokemon. So when our application first starts, Pokemon will just be an empty array, which is what use state returns. Use state also returns a second value, which is a function, to update this state. So the second value of second thing that use state returns is a function to update the first value that it returns. So what we can do right here now is that since we have our Pokemon results, we're going to do set Pokemon results dot results. And from here, we can view how Pokemon looks before and after setting the state. Because if we go back to our page, oh, no, that was weird. So if we go back to our page, we should see that in the beginning, that Pokemon was an empty array, just like how we were promised from passing in use state. But then after the use effect was called, we were set to the results of the first 150 Pokemon that we had right here. Now, if you don't believe me what happens here, what we can do is just write, we can just have a set to hello initially, just for like, just as a joke. But if we do that, you should see in the beginning that it was set to hello, but then later it was changed to this array. But just for good practice, let's just set it to the array, just for good practice. Okay. I know that was a lot to like take in. Is anybody like confused on like what I just did? Because that was basically the end of the step. It was a very short step, but there was like a lot of like I guess like detail within those short steps. Okay, so next thing we're gonna move on to is actually like utilizing this data um, in step 5. So we're actually finally gonna have our little friend here have more than just himself. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Now that we actually pulled the data from the API, let's actually like start rendering it out. So, oh my gosh, I'm brain farting right now. What am I doing? So now instead of just returning a singular Poke card, let's use a function called map. And basically what map does is just like a way of iterating through every single element within inside of an array. So what we're going to do is, since Pokemon is an array, we are going to do Pokemon dot map. And inside this first parameter, it's going to be the selected Pokemon. It's going to be the current element that it is on within the array. And then we're going to do parentheses. Move the card function, move the card component inside. And just have it as this for now. If you go back to your page now, you'll notice we have a lot more friends now. They're all the same right now because we haven't changed the variables that get passed into PokeCard yet, but we will be doing that right now. Oh yeah, I forgot one thing to mention is whenever you use the map function, you always have to have a distinct key to distinguish the Pokemon that's there. Since each Pokemon's name is going to be unique either way, we're just going to pass in the selected Pokemon's name, and that should just be good enough. Typically how it's done is that you usually just pass in like the ID or something into the Pokemon. In order
Yeah, I thought it was just me, but I can't hear you. Can you guys hear him? Can you hear either of us? Bryan, can you hear me? Okay, I see you talking, but I can't hear you. I'm not really sure what happened. Just me. Okay. Can you try closing this and then coming back in with the same link? Yeah. Sorry about that. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Okay, can you guys hear Bryan now?
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, so I'm hoping everyone else can too. Just continue.
Okay. How much of that stuff did you guys actually hear me explain? Or was that all just set into the void and I had to re-explain it again? Like, what point did you guys just stop hearing me? My bad. I didn't know my headphones died, which is unfortunate. Wow, this is okay. Cool. My headphones die on me middle of presentation. Of course they would.
I guess I could go back a little bit, like a few minutes.
A few minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just want to know where I'm at, where everybody's at with me, I guess. Just so like I know where to like explain / re-explain, because I don't know how much of that people actually caught. Hopefully enough, but okay. So Jeff the Aggie can hear us.
Awesome. Should we go back to where you were explaining like the use states and start from there again?
Use state. Is that step 4? Wait.
No, I think it was 5.
Step 5. No, step 4. Step 4 had the use states.
Okay.
Actually, wait. Jeff the Aggie, if you can like, what was it? When did I like re-announce the event to people? Wait. The event? Wait, what event? Wait, what's the event? I actually don't know what the event is.
I think
Should I
just
call it the event?
no.
Oh no, she only told me to click in and out of the live stream.
Oh yeah. Sorry
Yeah,
about
it was only me, not everybody else.
Yeah, I would just pick a point, Brian, and just start from there. And if anyone's confused, just ask us in the chat so we can go back and re-explain it.
Okay, cool. I am just gonna start back in the beginning of like step 5. So, because I think I started cutting out in step 5. Step 4 was completely done. I'm pretty sure. Well, I hope so at least. Oh, unless someone tells me otherwise. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, that's funny. Okay. So if you guys were here before, go back to, I'm just gonna start back at step 5 of integrating like the API data with the components. Okay. Now that we have all this lovely data, instead of just passing in just a Bulbasaur, let's actually just pass in like multiple like Pokemon instead. So usually in React, what people usually use the most is something called a map function. And it works with like mainly like people usually just use it for like arrays to map out. But it's just basically just think of map as a for loop that loops through every single element. And that's basically what it does. So for map, we are going to define it as Pokemon.map, parentheses, and then the first argument inside of map is going to be the current index that it is looping through. So it's first going to loop through Bulbasaur, then Venusaur, then Ivysaur, then use Squirtle or Charmander next, and then etc. through the results data that we pulled through. So, like before, let's just define Pokecard. Everything mapped out first. Did I mess something up? Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't need to be there. Whoopsie. Yes. Sorry about that. So if you include that there, you should just see. You should exactly just see 100. Oh, okay, that's funny. Okay, there we go. You should see exactly like 151 Bulbasaurs on the stage, which is not what we want, but like our Poketype component, we are gonna pass in variables into our Pokecard in order to make everything a lot more dynamic. But like before, like I said, or well, maybe I said that, but every single time.
Ryan, I think your screen might be frozen on Twitch, at least.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I'm seeing.
Wait, I'm kind of just clicking everywhere. Like, do you see that or no?
I see it on the platform that we're hosting, but not on Twitch.
Should I just unshare and reshare?
Try that, yeah.
Okay.
It's frozen, yeah.
How about now?
What? Okay.
Do you see the lovely garden?
I think it should be fine now. Try that.
Okay.
Show them the actual Bulbasaurs again.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the set that I just completed. You should just see like a garden of these guys.
Nope, I think it's still frozen.
Oh, what the heck? Okay.
Yeah.
How do we solve stream issues?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's weird because I still see it, so it looks normal on our end.
Yeah, I see that, but
Are you sharing your entire screen?
Yeah, I'm sharing my whole entire screen right now. Like now I'm onto VS Code, if anybody can see that.
It's just like stuck between. If you go on Twitch right now, you'll be able to see it. Yeah, stuck between the two screens. Try removing your screen one more time.
I see it now. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of bad. That's kind of funny. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Do y'all just see this now? It should just be a terminal and yeah, whatever I have here.
Okay, try switching to a different screen. Nope, it's frozen.
Dude. Hey, sure. Has this ever happened before?
Not this particular thing, but what we can do is just pause the tutorial here and maybe come back later in the week or something. Do you want to try that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we can do that and just start back up at step 5 with everyone again. If everybody else is down for that, I guess we can. Oh wait, no one can see my screen still. It's still frozen. I forgot. They don't know what page I'm on. But yeah, step 5 is where we're currently at, and yeah, stream issues are just kind of not a thing right now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send the link to your GitHub repo again. So if people want to try that on their own, they can. They have all of the steps. We just need steps 5 and 6, right? Or just 5?
We went fully through steps 1 to 4, The VOD will be there for like steps 1 to 4, and however long I was cut out for step 5 in this problem.
Mhm.
But everyone should be able to do steps 1 to 4, steps 1 through 4. Honestly, if you guys have any questions or anything, you guys can just raise like an issues request and or raise an issue, and I'll just answer it there if need be. Also, if you guys find any like bugs or typos, let me know, and I'll just fix those immediately as well. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it.
I can also, I'll add you to our Discord right after this and tag you one of the channels so people can DM you directly.
Yeah, no, that works too. When do you want to should we reschedule now or like later?
We can reschedule later and we'll announce it in like the events channel on Discord so everyone knows.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry guys. Sorry that you guys only have to see one Bulbasaur for like a couple days, but I promise. I mean, it's either that or you guys can go through the whole entire workshop, because I think every single step is detailed enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, you guys can just like see how the end results look like in step 6.
Yeah.
You can check out to that branch and just run npm start, and you should see the Kanto Pokedex there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how streaming works, and apparently I'm just freeze onto one screen, which is kind of funny and bad at the same time. But yeah, I have bad humor, so it's whatever.
Do you guys have any other like last minute questions before we hop off and try this another day? Have any other
What?
Just mute the Twitch in case we have. I guess we'll just stay on for a couple more minutes and you guys can kind of leave and we'll let you know when the next live stream is.
Oh my god, this sucks. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this happened.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome. I'll end the live stream now then. Thanks guys for coming. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Hopefully we'll fix that soon.
Oh yeah.
Bye.